I did it again. I'm sitting here in OBS and I need to remember to stop being in full screen mode and go to like that mode. So let's just start over. Let's start over from scratch. Today I want to talk about LiDAR, and I want to talk about LiDAR. I was talking to a friend of mine. He does lots of forensic work, and SynthEyes is great for forensic work. But let's load SynthEyes. Come on, SynthEyes, launch. There we go. And I'm going to say File, Import, Mesh. And what I want to do here is load the LiDAR for this forensic work. But I have an E57 file or a .E57 file, or I don't know what you folks call these things. But it's an E57 file, and that's LiDAR, but SynthEyes can't load that. So point number one would be, hey SynthEyes, maybe load these very common forms of LiDAR that people use in the world of forensic science if you're going to go after that kind of market. But we can't do that. So let's cancel that. I'm going to close SynthEyes. What I use is a piece of software called Cloud Compare. Uh-oh, the dogs are going crazy. Here's Cloud Compare. So I'm going to shrink that a little bit. Relax. Hey, dogs. It's okay. Whatever's going on up there, I'm sure it's fine. I'm just going to drag this E57 file into Cloud Compare. Now, this file is enormous. I think it's something like 257 million polygons, something like that. So it just takes a while to import. And it comes in sections. So, and we'll see the sections in a second. There they all are. So there it is. It's just rotating it. It's just, it's almost like a flight simulator on an Apple IIe computer. But what you can do in Cloud Compare is you can take all these various sections and you can say, just select them all, go edit, merge. Do you want to generate a scalar field? No, I don't want to do that. I want to keep the same scalar information. What's a scalar field? What is the scalar information? I don't really know. This is not my area of expertise. Okay, so I'm going to switch this though to RGB. And hey, look at that. That's nice. But frequently what happens is you bring things into SynthEyes as LiDAR and they'll look like the colors will be wrong or weird. And in this case, they sometimes will look like this. Like, let's switch this to displaying blue, green, yellow, red. So they might look like this, or even something more like that. And I think you can use these scalar fields to depict things like elevation or other data. I just don't know what it represents in this scan. Anyway, it might look something like this. But like I said, we can switch this to RGB. And when we switch it to RGB, we can export that. And I'm going to just click the save file thing here. There's no export function in Cloud Compare. You just save, and then you determine what you want. So I'm going to say it's going to be an ASCII cloud. Now, the Cloud Compare can convert to all these various different formats, one of which I believe, yeah, there it is, OBJ. One of which is an OBJ file. But we're not going to do that. We're going to switch it to ASCII Cloud, and we're going to save this as .pts. And I'm just going to overwrite this thing on my desktop. These were just test files, so let's delete those. There we go. I'm going to save it as job 3 setup 001 PTS, and I'm going to hit save. Now, this is important. When you go order, you really want to switch this to PTS, point SFs, which I don't know what that is, scalar field, color and normal. But I'm going to switch it to that, and I'm not going to change anything else. You can save the colors as float values if you want, but I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to hit this, okay, and now it's going to write that out, which is going to take a while. And all that clanking around that you're hearing is me opening my water bottle, which was from Viacom, where my wife used to work. She doesn't work for Viacom anymore. She works for a new studio, for another studio, another gigantic studio. What can we talk about at times like this? There we go. Still writing. I don't know what to talk about. I can't talk about my wife. I can't talk about what studio where she works for. I'm under a domestic NDA. And I can't talk about any of that. What else could I talk about? I could talk about AI. It just occurred to me that, when you talk about AI, the I in there stands for intelligence, which there is none. But the A stands for artificial. And so in the world that we live in, we tend to avoid things that are artificial. Like artificial people, those are not good people. Artificial sweeteners, I think that most AI is like stevia. The stevia of intelligence. Not good. I'm going to talk about AI in a future video on my other channel. But for now, we're about halfway done with this. This point cloud is 217,236,231 points. Oof. It's nearly 250 million. It's a lot. LOL, love that. The stevia of intelligence. Yeah, right? And the funny thing also about AI is that when I talk to some of my more tech oriented friends, they're like, yeah, but everybody's going to start using it. And if you don't know how to use it, then you're going to be the one left behind. And I'm like, how come you're all saying exactly that same message, almost verbatim? It's almost like it's a lexical meme. It's almost like someone has been putting that out there and you have been absorbing it and are now regurgitating it as though it was your own original thought. That is the power of propaganda. Just remember, AI is just a marketing term at this point. And I highly recommend a newsletter by a guy named Ed Zetron. Let me see if I can pull that up while we're waiting. Ed Zetron. There we go. Where's your Ed at? Anthropic is bleeding out. Anthropic and OpenAI have begun the supreme AI crisis. Make fun of them. This is a great article. Why did Microsoft invest in OpenAI? Did Sam Altman and Johnny Ive steal another company's idea? Yeah, so Ed Zetron, he's good. He's basically a tech journalist. You know, there are articles and about him, and he's been on Slate, Newsweek. But anyway, I recommend going to Where's Your Ed At to get all of your most recent AI information. Anyway, hey, look, we're back. Finally, it's exported. Let me close that and go back to my live stream. All right, job 003 setup. That's finished exporting. Let's go to SynthEyes now, and let's import that. So we'll go to the 3D room, and we'll say File, Import, Mesh. You don't need to see me in the lower left, but I'm going to go to my desktop and grab that PTS file. Now, SynthEyes, this is nice. It allows you to decimate immediately to, let's make it like 5 million points. And we're going to say Z up max, because that was how this was captured. A lot of forensic work gets done in 3D Studio Max. And dependent upon the order in which the X, Y, and Z channels were written to that ASCII file, that's going to determine. So if you have it come in and it's facing at you like flat, you probably need to switch the up axis. But this is going to help you, I think, if you end up doing this kind of work ever. You'll bring things in and they'll just be like the colors will be like yellow, or they'll be those red, green, and blue like rainbow colors. All right. This is great. When I end up cutting these all down, these videos, into shorter videos, I can make these little time-lapse sections. Any other questions that anyone might have for me? Xander, you seem to be the only one actually here on Saturday morning. Saturday, today, for me, it's very cold outside, which is weird because we've just been having 100-degree days, and now it feels like it's 65 degrees outside and overcast. Which is, you know, welcome after many 100-degree days. But I hope it's warm tomorrow, because I'm going to go to the lake and I'm going to go on my stand-up paddleboard. All right, let's see what we get here. Come on, baby. Yes. Nice. Okay. And I'm going to deselect that. And there's all my color. And it's all really nice looking. But if it ever comes in, like I said earlier, where it's like, you know, all yellow or all like one color, it just makes it a lot more difficult to navigate. Now, one of the other things that Cloud Compare can do, it looks really nice. One of the other things Cloud Compare can do is it can triangulate these point clouds. So I want to, like, I've had really great results doing that, and I've had really weird results doing that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, how do we do this? I believe that it's subsample or something like that. Statistics, volume. No, that's not it. I don't use this software all the time, so please, here we go, subsample. And I'm going to make this a really small value, but if I expand this window, I get a little more accuracy. So I'm going to bring that up to like 0.26. I feel like this is a percentage of the overall value, but it's, this is a piece of software that's primarily used for scientific reasons or scientific purposes. So it's, if you want to talk about the SynthEyes having a difficult to use user interface sometimes, this software is like that times 100. There's no undo. Like if you hit Command Z or Control Z, it doesn't do anything. Fortunately, all of the steps that you do tend to be done in a like procedural level. So here now, all of this subsampling that was done at this layer. So I can turn this back on, which is the original, and then I turn that off. But now you'll notice, hey, this really, I can move that around. It doesn't feel like an Amplitude flight simulator anymore. But one of the things that I've noticed, or that I've done, that you can do, which isn't going to work, not for this mesh for some reason, is you can do a thing if you go into plugins here and you go to Poisson Recon. Now, in French, poisson is fish, and recon typically means reconnaissance. So I don't know what Poisson Recon could possibly mean. Again, this is not my area of expertise, nor is French. My French is barely passable. But I'm going to click on Poisson Recon, and Cloud must have normals. So there are no normals. So I can now compute the normals. Let's make this full screen so that we don't get confused by the SynthEyes in the background. We go Edit Normals, Compute, and there are a number of methodologies for computing the normals. None of these really, I've noticed, for this particular point cloud does better than another. So I'm just going to hit auto on that. Use scan grids whenever possible. I don't know what KNN is. Number of neighbors used to build the tree. Use minimum spanning tree. And I've tried this in a number, like I turn off orientation entirely and those all go away. But minimum angle of local triangles in degrees. Yeah, that seems okay. Sure. Okay, and then it's going to do a computation of the normals. And now, so when you're looking at the mesh, I think because it's actually using the normals to render the point cloud, they're obviously not right, because wherever the light source is coming from in Cloud Compare, it's just rendering as black. I've noticed that there are other tools in here like orient normals, and then you can say, here, I'll do with fast marching. Sure, Octree level 6. I don't know. Great. But now if we go to Poisson Reconstruction in the plugins, that's what recon is, reconstruction. And then Octree depth, sure. But what's going to happen is it's going to kind of go bananas and make this, yeah, so here you go. So it just makes this kind of blob of geometry. And I don't know how to control this. And then one of the other things I read online was that it tends to want to make watertight meshes from the LiDAR. So that's why it would be like this. God, this reminds me of like Houdini 1.0. Anyway, but that's the mesh. It keeps that still there. I can go back all the way to my original RGB. There's, like I said, there's no undo though. So Command Z, nothing. Doesn't even make a noise. And I can delete that. So that's really kind of all I wanted to cover. I almost wanted to make a PTS file that did import into SynthEyes incorrectly, but and gave you those wacky colors just so you could see them. But this is fine. So that's it. That's all I wanted to talk about today. Was if you're doing forensic work, Cloud Compare is free. It's pretty good for this kind of work. I know you can also use things like MeshLab to do the reconstruction and to triangulate vertices, but I prefer that, like, if I'm going to be doing any kind of work, when you're trying to, like, if you're, let's talk about one last thing. So if we have a tracker here, I'm just going to make a tracker and go back to the 3D room. And if that was a real tracker for footage, and I click on place here, well, if I'm trying to place like a tracker seed position on a mesh, and you're looking through this big point cloud and you're like trying to see something in the background, it's like, oh, is this on that this telephone pole over here? Well, you know, once you get all these points in here and you're looking through is that a Tesla Cybertruck? Oh my god. Good grief. Or as I like to call it, the wank panzer. Anyway, which is not to be confused with the Tesla automobile, which I call the swastika. But if you're looking through this big point cloud, it's often nice to have things triangulated so they can self-occlude. That's basically what you want. You just want to be able to occlude the points in the background so that you don't, when you pick points on the surface of a triangle, it's just easier. But that's it. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about now. I'm working on another video right now, which is a more complex video, a more I probably need to get a haircut for that video, but it's going to have to do more with GOH tracking, but how to do rotomation and that sort of thing. So I look forward to seeing you again, and we just tune again. Have you seen how raccoons confuse them with dumpsters? Oh my god, I want to see video of that. Anyway, that's so funny. That's really funny. That's it for now. I'll talk to you all again soon. I hopefully will be cutting this one down as well and making it into a shorter video. That also is a project that is in progress. I will, I'll give you a little sneak preview right now. I'm going to DaVinci Resolve, and I'm gonna have like 5 like goodbye messages for this. There we go. So look, all of these videos right here, these are all the live streams. These are all being currently cut down. So if I go to like this one and we just look at the timeline. There we go. Come on, baby. Load up for me. There we go. So you can see it's like being edited and notes are being made on it and that sort of thing. I'm not doing that work, but I'm excited about it. Anyway, that's it for now. I will talk to you all soon, and have fun tracking. All right, bye.